Hi everyone, this is David and welcome to week 3. Wanted to give you just a quick overview of some of the things that we're talking about this week, and also to remind you that your first project, paper number 1, communication analysis, is due at the end of this week. And I also want to remind you that you need to follow the formatting guidelines that I'm going to give to you in this conference very, very closely. Okay, let's take a look at this stuff. In the week 3 overview, you first find a lecture on the ethical manager, that would be you, and alert you to the fact that we're going to be taking a look at some of the ethical issues pertaining to the workplace and managers in particular in the workplace in this conference. We're also going to be taking a look at the writing process as outlined in your course guide, and at some of the problems that untrained writers have with the writing process at times, and some of the things that can maybe help you in your writing process to get closer to what you want. So there are your deliverables: to read the Bell and Smith chapter, and to make sure that you respond to your colleagues in the conference. And of course, as I said to you, to make sure that you get a good early start on that paper and get it in. Okay, let's take a look at this writing process stuff. The big 4, and by the big 4 I mean these 4 things that you see right here. These are the big 4 mistakes. Let's talk about them one by one. Faulty audience analysis. It happens to us all the time. Saying the right things, good things, correct things, but not the things that your audience needed to hear. The second item is faulty template analysis, and that's one of the reasons that I'm having you look at a set of directions for your project 1 and then follow those directions very closely, because very often in the workplace you are given a memo to follow, a letter template to follow, an employee evaluation template to follow. You're often given a template to follow, and your ability to do that will largely determine how well your writing is going to be received by the person who assigned it to you. So don't let this template thing bother you. Shakespearean sonnets have a template, 14 lines of rhymed iambic pentameter. That's a template. It's not the template that matters. Everything's got one. They have to have one in order for our brain to recognize it. It's what you put into the template that matters. Okay, number 3, headwrite, to put something down on paper without it being supposedly 100% correct. And whenever you're doing that, you're actually interrupting your ability to think, because now you're not thinking, you're editing. And those are 2 different things, as I found out in my career. Editing is a brainless process of making things more appropriate and more correct, fine-tuning things. And it's not the same thing as giving yourself permission to think aloud in writing and discover your voice. And the last thing is closing off feedback. Unfortunately, in school, you have been trained to do your writing, turn it in, and the only feedback you get is that grade. You look at the grade. If you like it, fine. If you don't like it, then you look at the comments to see if that grade is justified or not. In the real world, things never get published without them being edited many times. I'm not talking about vanity publications or small press, one-person operation publications. I'm talking about things that people get paid for. And they just don't get in print unless they've been edited 7, 8, 9, 10 times. So if it's good enough for those people who are being paid $1 a word, it's good enough for us mere mortals. So please take a look at that and use it to think about your own writing process and some of the things that you can possibly change a little bit. Now, in this corporate cultures lecture, what I want you to do is to get in the habit of taking a look at the world around you as demonstrated in the behaviors and the policies that you see exemplified in the workplace, and using those observations to be able to make a judgment about whether it is a primarily negative workplace or positive workplace. It's going to be something in between almost always. But one of the things I want to say to you, nothing happens in the workplace without it being encouraged and condoned by the highest level of management. Whether it's through a written policy or whether it's through an unwritten policy, nothing happens in the workplace without the permission and the advocation by the highermost management. It rolls downhill, doesn't it? So keep that in mind. What I want you to do is to kind of make a list of some policies and practices in your workplace, and then make a determination about what those policies and practices are saying about the ambience, about the ethos of the workplace that you're in. Take a look at this one by Bank of America. This was submitted a couple years ago by a student who was a teller there. Look at the policy and practices in the Bank of America, and then tell me that what she identified as the value being communicated is not the exact value that Bank of America has toward those tellers, and often its customers as well. So please keep that in mind, that there's always a correlation between the policies and behaviors you observe and what values are being communicated, underlying values are being communicated by them. Okay, the next thread. I'm getting you ready in these two videos for your project number 1. I'm taking you through some document design techniques called SPD, visual space, visual progression, and visual differentiation. I want you in the first video to become acquainted with them and how they're used, and then in the second video I want you to watch and see how those techniques are employed in the actual formulation, the actual formatting of a Project 1 for this assignment, for this course. So in other words, there are no excuses whatsoever in terms of not being able to replicate this template exactly. And I'm not being crazy and obsessive about this. This is a reality in the workplace. Okay, there you go, a brief overview of Work 3. Contact me as usual in Cafe 24/7, email or phone if you have any questions. And good luck this week.